What, no countdown? Okay, I guess there's no countdown on this camera. Hi kids. Your dear Uncle Birch here. Another fabulous video, I'm sure. As you can see, less lag. I think there's still a little lag. We'll have to see how it turns out. Looks like an old acid trip I once had right there. But I'm using actually the first computer that I ever made videos on. I'm looking over here on the side, and I can see my first few videos. Man, there I was sitting around my house smoking a cigarette and stuff. Come a long way. Come full circle. All the way back to the computer that I first used, because it's a better computer. I usually am using my netbook because it's more portable, but that's not why we're here to talk about computers. I'm here to make another video in hopes that I won't have to repeat myself as much. There's a lot of questions that I'm often asked in my line of work, and I'm often asked the same question a lot of times. And that was the original reason for making the videos. Is so once we talk somebody through a spell, teach them what they need to do when they're here at the shop, and when they go home and forget everything that we told them, or they lose their notes, they can watch the video. We can just, they'll call up and say, hey, I forgot what to do. And they go, oh, watch Basic Love Spells Part 1. That's what you do. That kind of thing. So, something I'm often asked in my line of work, how does it work? How does magic work? And almost as many times, how long does it take? That's always a big concern for people. People that need to change something in their lives, and they're using magic to do it, and they're in a hurry. They have no other recourse to get that thing other than to do a spell, but they're in a hurry. They want to know how long it's going to take. And I tend to say the same thing that I was taught, and I found that it's true. First of all, your average spell works in moon cycles. One moon cycle is optimal. One moon passing and your spell manifests. That's optimal. More often, since it's the moon, she likes to work in threes. So three months for your average spell, you should see some sort of manifestation for that. And if you watch my videos, and I suggest I know there's hundreds of them now, there's well over 100, you should watch some of the other videos where I explain this stuff, like the 3 keys of magic. And the third key of magic, the most important thing, is letting go of the spell, projecting it, letting it go, optimally forgetting about it. And the way that we achieve that in the video is we set that 3-moon margin. We close our book. We keep good notes of everything we did. We close our book with the plan that we're not going to look at that spell again for 3 moons. The spell may not have manifested in that 3 moons, but we've got to give ourselves some sort of time to go back and look at that, because quite often spells sneak up on you in their manifestation, especially if you're good at your 3rd key. You've forgotten you did it, and lo and behold, all of a sudden you're living under those circumstances that you wanted to have. You've manifested that thing, and you don't even know it. You've been spending weeks with the money that you needed, or you fell in love, you met somebody, and you didn't even think about it. And then you just kind of think about it, months later or something. Go, oh, hey, wow, this person's just like the person I asked for in the love spell. Wow, look at that, it worked. And that's optimal when magic sneaks up on you. And that's the 3rd key. There is a secret 4th key, and I don't know if I've ever mentioned it in videos, but I found it myself, and I've never been taught this by anybody else. It's something that I found. Some spells I found did not manifest until I declared that they didn't manifest. In other words, until I admitted failure to the universe, some spells didn't manifest. And so I'm going to call that the secret 4th key. And I don't know how to really gauge that, but sometimes it's best to give up. Somehow the giving up is facilitating the 3rd key. that of letting go. You've totally let go when you've given up and said it didn't work. Now that's a problem for some people because there seems to be a common belief out there in the world that magic only works if you believe it. Now belief is great, belief is good, but I just shot a hole in that theory with the fourth key. That cannot be true if in fact declaring that it didn't work brings a manifestation. And I wouldn't say this unless the manifestations had been drastic and impossible to deny. Damn, too bad I don't have a pause button on this thing. Be right back. Okay. Where was it? Oh yeah. So that old wives' tale, if we can blame it on old wives, that magic won't work, and it's pretty much how it's told, that magic won't work on you if you don't believe in it. And this is pretty common in, some people say that in hoodoo, voodoo, folk magic. They say that, and I'm here to tell you, I've been a witch for too long, it's bullshit. Bullshit. If you're one of those people, and if you say that, oh, your magic won't work on me because I don't believe in it, we have a word for you. Target. You are a target and a victim, and you will hopefully not, but you quite likely will be victimized and not know it. And you'll if you get a hex put on you, you'll never just go take the simple steps necessary to remove the hex. It's not hard to remove a hex, but you've got to remove the hex. You've got to do the work. You've got to burn some stuff, wave your arms around. But if you don't believe in it, well, you're just going to sit there. Your life's going to, fall apart. You're going to have really bad luck, lose jobs, become sick, insane, and ultimately die. I'm laughing because I have a dark sense of humor, I guess. So don't ever buy that. Just because if you don't believe in the truck coming at you, doesn't mean it's not going to squash you all over the pavement. Your disbelief is futile. It's nothing. It means nothing to the universe. The universe is what it is, and whether you believe it or not, it's still going to be what it's going to be. However, believing in something can be very powerful, can be very strong. You can accomplish great things. You can believe in something and project your mind out into the universe to cause change in accordance with will. So that's something about how magic works. Still not answering the question quite right. Sasha just threw his bottle. So magic tends to work in moon cycles, and it tends to manifest mundanely. That's something some people don't think about. They get involved in all this witchcraft and all this woozy stuff, and they're expecting beams of light to deliver $30,000 onto their living room table. Now I'm not saying you couldn't make that happen, but it'd probably take 30 years of constant spell work to get that, to get a manifestation like that. More likely, what's going to happen, the check's going to arrive in the mail. You're going to make a left turn walking down the street when you normally would make a right turn. For some unknown reason, your subconscious decided to make you turn left, and well, look, there's a pile of money laying in the street. This is how it happens. Now, it means that somebody had to go drop that money. That's a problem for that person. But hopefully you did your spell wishing harm to no one, not wishing harm to anyone. That'd be a more positive way of saying that. Magic manifests mundanely most times, and it manifests with irony. I don't know who said it, but it's the one constant in the universe: irony. If you worked with a particular deity, a goddess or a god, you should expect that spell to arrive with the fingerprint, the thumbprint, or the signature of that deity, i.e. Somebody that reminds you of that deity, somebody that looks like that deity, is going to show up. And I got a story. I always teach better with stories. So, once upon a time, we were working at the first witch store in Santa Cruz, and I was the manager there before we left to come and do this. Because one of the things we found that we like to do there, we like to brew stuff. We like to brew stuff, burn stuff, make stuff. But the boss of that particular shop had environmental illness. She was allergic to everything. She was allergic to scent. So we could only do it on the boss's day off. So one of the first incense we made was the Sacred Grove. And that ultimately leads to the shop, but that's not important for this story. But we made a Hecate incense, and it was a new moon. We made this Hecate incense, we lit it, thought, oh, that smells nice. We watched the smoke drift towards the open front door. It's like one of those doors that closes on the bottom and is open on the top. And it wafts out the front door. And right then, bursting in the door. Now I said it was a Hecate incense, right? Bursting in the front door. Hecate's favorite color is purple. That's one of her signatures. Purple, purple, purple. In the door comes this loud, large, vociferous lady. Purple shoes, purple pants, purple blouse, big purple beads around her head, big purple hat with purple plumes coming out of it. She bursts in the door and says, "Hello, boys!" and then wafts slowly counterclockwise through the room, chuckling to herself as she picks up the dark things. The skulls, she picked up little skulls, she'd chuckle. We had these little squeaky nuns that were sacrament to squat, and she'd squeak them, and she laughed, squeaking the nuns. And I just went around the room and just picked up the darkest things in a room and chuckled, and about halfway through her trip through the store, she goes, "Lovely aroma, boys." And then she wafted towards the door again and said, "Ta-ta!" And we both, me and my friend Puck, my work partner, we followed her to the door to peek and look outside. And this lady hopped into a purple convertible with purple interior, purple trim, and instead of white walls, she had purple walls, and the plate, PRPLLDY, purple lady. That kind of thing. That kind of irony is what you should expect when your spell arrives, to where you will probably know it. It may be in hindsight that you realize that it happened, but then you look at it and go, "Oh, wow, that person totally seemed like a goddess over." Right. So that's one thing. Magic arrives mundanely with a sense of irony about it most times. Now, I gotta always say most times, because just no absolutes. Never say always, never say ever. Another thing, magic follows the path of least resistance. Do you know another energy source that we say that about? Well, we say that about electricity. That's a lot of what's going on a circuit board is little resistors. And the resistors resist a certain amount of the force, let a little bit of it through, and then the rest of it has to go this way. So there's all these resistors all over circuit board directing the power where to go and how much of the power to let through. Same thing. It's a natural energy force, and we often compare it to electricity. We find a lot of the same rules apply. So magic follows the path of least resistance. Now, if your spell manifests off target, or if it doesn't manifest at all, it just doesn't work, it works wrongly, something went wrong, well, hopefully you kept good notes, because I told you to keep good notes in one of those other videos. Really important that you keep good notes. You can go back and look at what you did before, because if you're remembering all of it, well, then you haven't done the third key. So you check your notes, go back and see, is there some resistance on the line? Magic follows the path of least resistance. So if a greater force resists the force of your spell, it will not manifest, or it will manifest off. It will not quite work, or it'll work weird, or go kind of to the left. This is how we learn, by trial and error. Well, that's why I recommend doing a lot of small spells in the beginning that are not the end of the world, although that tends to not happen much. People more do spells out of necessity because it's something that they need. So if let's say you're doing a love spell on somebody that's pissed off at you, well, I'm not going to say that you should do that love spell, but if you're going to do that love spell, you need to do it good. A little candle and a little oil, that's not going to do it. You need to push that thing through. You need to force that thing through. So you need to map out the course of your spell and see what's in the way. Okay, what's the course from here to there, and what's in the way between me and it? How can I circumvent that, go over that, go around that, punch my way through that? Planning. Now, if there's nothing resisting your spell, you can do a small thing. If there's something resisting your spell, you have to do it larger. You have to have a greater force. And I think it's in the Vangelo, Aradia says sometimes a greater force may resist your force, and sometimes that force may be another person. You may be opposed by another person, another witch. And she recommends, if so, seek that person out and resolve your differences. So if you're doing bad magic, dark magic, you're attacking somebody or something like that, and they're a witch or a magic user, and they have protection up, you would need to do that stronger. Where a pistol would normally work, you now need a nuke. So, best to just not mess with witches, I guess, because they probably have something up. They probably, unless they're not worth their metal, they probably have something up. So, magic follows the path of least resistance. So, see if you have resistance. When you have resistance, I recommend Jupiter. Jupiter is for getting through obstacles, getting past obstacles. Jupiter is our friend. Jupiter is great that way. So when your spell needs more force, when you need to get past obstacles, I recommend doing some Jupiter magic, working with Jupiter, the planet, working with Jupiter, the god, even, since they are interrelated. Jupiter, and if you actually come to the Grove, we have Jupiter oil. I don't think it's on the website, but we have planetary oils for working with the different planets. So, magic follows the path of least resistance, moon phases. Let's see what else. A real common way that a lot of magics are working is we are spending a lot of time concentrating on an image, and by the way that we concentrate on that image, we are creating its etheric double on the astral plane, and that etheric double is creating the manifestation of its earthly part. It's material. It's manifesting its material part on this plane. So we've got an image of, let's say, money on the astral plane. It's going to attract its material counterpart on the physical plane. That's the way we want it to work. So sometimes, like in sigil magic, we're destroying the symbol so that the nature of pouring a vacuum makes that come into manifestation. Nature just can't leave that hole there. She needs to fill it with something. Now this one's important because it's one of those disconnects that I find. I've heard in many a book and many an author that the majority of witchcraft works on the laws of sympathetic magic, and that is true. A lot of stuff is using sympathetic magic. Anytime you have a symbol of the thing that you're doing that represents the thing that you're doing, and you're doing it on that thing, we're using sympathetic magic, because the law of sympathetic magic that people tend to be using is like attracts like. Now that's interesting, but I learned it a different way. As often, I hear little sayings in the craft, and they're interesting, but when I heard them as a kid, they were two-part. Like as above, so below. That's a pretty common one. Everybody uses that, but when I heard it, it was as above, so below, as the universe, so the soul. It means a lot more than as above, so below, and there's less to figure out, the deep meaning thereof. So the way I learned sympathetic magic was also a two-parter. It was on the spiritual plane. Like attracts like, but on the physical plane, opposites attract. Now this screws up a whole lot of folk magic, a lot of hoodoo, even some voodoo. Folk magic, unfortunately, is magic that the folk do based on something that a witch once did. So like basically people go to a witch a few times to get a remedy for something, they watch what the witch does, and then they do those things. Now sometimes those spells work. A lot of folk magic works, but a lot of folk magic works without knowing how it works, without knowing what they're doing. And I would suggest you know what you're doing before engaging in magics that you don't understand. You need to understand them. So what I'm saying here is that if we want to use sympathetic magic and we want to manifest the likeness of the thing that we have here, we should be in a circle. Now, if we were to do that same spell outside of a circle, if those laws hold true, we are causing manifestation of the opposite thing. Now, I have seen some magics that take that into account, and the physical act that you're doing here outside of a circle is the opposite of what you want to have happen, or what you want to have occur. Now, can you wrap your head around that one? It's pretty important. It's pretty much a disconnect. Now, a circle's not hard. And a circle does not mean that you have to have the four quarters, the elements, the watchers, and all that. That's the quarters. That's the guardians. That's the watchers. The circle is simply drawing the space out, usually with your blade, in a circle, clockwise, closing off that orb. The circle just takes a few minutes. It's when the person walks around with their ithame. The most common lines are, I conjure thee, O circle of power, that thou beest a boundary between the worlds of men and the realms of the mighty ones, a guardian and protection that shall preserve and contain the power which we shall raise within thee. That's the circle. Just that one little act. It's not daunting. Yeah, it would be better if you did the elements, the watchers, but I'm not saying that you have to do that. But just that little simple act of throwing up a circle, and you should be able to throw up a circle anywhere. You should be able to throw up a circle on a bus. You should be able to throw up a circle with your mind. Just project it out. All of a sudden, we got a circle around us. We can do some magic. Because, what is the circle? Space between the worlds. When we're in the circle, we got one foot on this plane, one foot in the other plane. The things that we're launching in the circle, we're launching to the spiritual plane. So we're launching them to the spiritual plane. That like can attract like. Now, that really, I hope a lot of people watch this video, because we're teaching you how to do all these spells and stuff. And, it would be a better idea if you did them in a circle. Most magics are best done in a circle. And I don't hear a lot of people talk about that. So, this video's gone pretty long already, and I think I got to wrap it up. Maybe I'll make it a two-parter. There's a lot more to how magic works, but these are some things that I find myself repeating a lot, and a few things that I find not spoken of, not repeated by anybody, and now that will hopefully not be the case. I thank you for all my subscribers I keep getting, wonderful viewers. I like this camera better. Got some more stuff coming up. I am still working on the correspondence course, and I always forget to say, since we'll never be able to do AdSense apparently on this channel, we are open to donations to keep on our work, our ministry, if you will, here on YouTube and the other things we're doing. If you like it and you got something to give, well, I tell you what, as a witch, we tend to bless gifts that we are given back to the giver threefold. So I bless your gift threefold and wish that your gift to us manifests back into your life 3 times. So I should flash it up here. Our email address for our PayPal account is sacredgrove913 hotmail.com. So you can send any and all donations to that Sacred Grove 913 at hotmail.com. We are located in Santa Cruz at beautiful 924 Soquel Avenue, Santa Cruz, California 95062. So, you know, that's one of the only times we accept checks. We don't accept checks at the store, but you know, you can send us a check donation, and I'll appreciate it and bless you thricely. So, blessed be y'all. Merry meet, merry part, merry meet again.